Okay. Well, I
This
think we're ready
conference
to
will now
go.
be recorded.
Good evening, and I'm here in place of Mayor Cease Coons, who may check in later, but she's got a medical issue that she is getting resolved this evening. So you'll have to endure me, which will be a load, but that's okay. So I'm calling to order the Monmouth City Council meeting of November 2nd, 2021. Phyllis, can you call the roll, please?
Counselor Belt,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carey,
Here.
Counselor Lopez,
Here.
Counselor McKeel,
Here.
Counselor Oberst, Counselor Salinas Oliveros,
Here.
and Mayor Kunz is excused.
All right, very well. Thank you, Phyllis, for that. And for the flag salute tonight, former Mayor John Oberst, would you be so kind to lead us?
Would be happy to. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. That now brings us to the consent calendar, which is routine business that we're all familiar with, I believe. You've had that distributed to you. Is there any discussion on the consent calendar or any corrections that might need to be discussed?
I would move approval of the consent calendar for tonight.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and by Councilor Oberst and second by Councilor Lopez. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, that passes. Okay. It's now time for public comment. Section of the meeting that is reserved for public comment. And this is reserved for citizens to make comments on any issue that is not on the agenda. And in the interest of time and everything else, we would like to limit these presentations to 3 minutes. So seeing no one in the room that appears to be here for that topic, Phyllis, have you had anyone provide any information or talk to you relative to a public comment?
I have not.
All right, very good. Then we'll proceed to our business agenda. We have a presentation tonight from Brent. My apologies for being here late, Brent. I meant to introduce myself, but you're the director of the Polk County Family and Community Outreach, and you presented us with some information, and I think we've all had a chance to review that, and at least in my own stead was impressed with that. So we're anxious to hear what you have to say, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you, counselors. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me. One of the things that'll be important is to tell me how much time I have. 20 minutes.
Yeah,
So
20 minutes allocated.
somebody keep track of that, because normally I can spend 20 minutes on every single piece of paper and topic that I gave you. So what I've been asked to do is to give a very general overview of the type of resources we provide to the community and to the citizens through my department at Polk County. I'm going to do that in a very whirlwind fashion because I want to leave some time for the counselors to ask specific questions about maybe a resource or an issue that they would like to hear a little bit about today, or to give you more information at another time. Does that sound agreeable to you all?
Yes.
So for the people that are on the screen, we sent you an email. My staff kind of just made one giant awful PDF that please do not print. I gave you all packets here that you can pick up later. And we could also provide all of these materials to you in as much quantity as you need. So again, I'm going to go quickly over the resources that we have available at the county. Every resource that I'm about to tell you about is available in both English and Spanish and is available all throughout Polk County, and some of them are available in Yamhill County too. The first thing I want to highlight is every year we come out with a community resource guide, and we intentionally do that for the entire valley because a lot of times the services are available in Salem. They're not available in other places, even though they serve the Tri-County area. So we include all of the resources in Yamhill, Marion, and Polk. English always comes out first, and my staff will have the translation done this week, and then this entire booklet is also available in Spanish. We make this resource guide available to any agency or organization, as many copies as you want. It's also up on our website. What we ask is that you don't give these away to families. These are about $3 a piece to print. It's for your staff and for council members to say, hey, I know where that resource is. Write that one down or snap a picture with your phone or direct folks to where they can get it. I just don't have a budget to print 10,000 of these, so they're kind of like gold. So again, this resource guide is going to tell you pretty much every piece of paper that I have to hand out is in this guide. Just the papers I have are more specific. And if you guys need to interrupt at any time to ask a question, just jump right in. I want to tell you that for the last 10 years, we have run an organization through my department called Mid-Valley Parenting. It is evidence-based parent education in English and Spanish for both Yamhill and Polk County. This is ways that we can work with parents to help them be better parents, to get them trained up on how to take care of their kids. That's often a daunting task. We probably have 9 different curriculums. It's 100% free. We provide childcare at every class. We provide a meal at every class. So if you have any questions about anything related to parent education, we're doing this all over Monmouth Independence, and we have, like I said, for the last 10 years. The website talks about where all the classes are and how to get involved.
Are people referred to this? Or are they-
Anybody can go. In fact, the funders who give us the money, we target what we call the universal parent, everybody here. This is not something for low income. This is not something for people involved in child welfare. Our funders, our primary funder is the Oregon Community Foundation. Parent education's for everybody. And I got to tell you, as a dad of 3 kids in their 20s, I wish there was something back in 1995 that told me what the heck I should be doing. So our goal is for everybody to have parent education. Another kind of overarching service that we provide is suicide prevention. We run the Suicide Prevention Coalition for the entire valley. There's probably 5 or 6 different curriculums, something as basic as anything that city councilors want to take for a couple of hours. It's called QPR, Question, Persuade, Refer. It's just a basic suicide prevention training that we do for free for anybody 14 and up, all the way to training that we do for more for folks that are dealing with more intense situations. There's a 2-day training called Assist. We do that one for mental health counselors, police officers, therapists, people who might really be dealing with at-risk populations. But almost all of those trainings are free. All of the information is on the Mid-Valley Suicide Prevention website. The materials include how to get to that information. 3 years ago, Polk County started our Veteran Service Office. We have 2 full-time veteran service officers. So anybody who has served in the military or families that have served in the military or anything related to veterans, have them call our office. We've got the best staff in the state. In those 3 years, we have brought millions and millions of dollars into Polk County in retroactive benefits and new benefits, connecting people who deserve it the most with VA benefits. We also run the Gales Lodge is a veteran shelter in Dallas. It is for men who are veterans who are going through a hard time. They can stay with us for up to a year for free. And then we help connect them to housing, employment, and other social services. That's located in Dallas, but it's open to anybody in Polk County who's a veteran. But it is a program you got to qualify for. You can't just show up at the door and have a bed for the night. We have some criteria before you get in.
You articulate with the Western Oregon University Director of Veterans Affairs.
Absolutely, very closely.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
In fact, anything that you're hearing from us tonight that you're thinking, I wonder if they connect with Western Oregon, we do. Every single thing we do. All right, I'm going to keep going. I think if you hear me say anything tonight and you ignore the rest, this is the part to listen to. Are you ready? We have a resource center. It happens to be located in Dallas, and I know that's always been a bit of a bone of contention for Monmouth Independence, but I do want to tell you, over 55% of the people we serve are from Monmouth Independence, and 95% of everything we do can be done over the phone, and then my staff will come anywhere in Polk County to do that last 5%. So we're trying to eliminate any barriers with transportation coming to Dallas. We can do just about everything over the phone. COVID hasn't been fun, but the one thing that it taught us is how to do work differently and how to get things done without having to be in person. And we've kind of perfected our intake and our process for helping people navigate. The resource center on this flyer, you can see there are so many things you can get there, from just basic needs. We're a full-fledged food bank. We're open more hours than all of the food banks in Polk County combined. Basic household items, you know, we've done probably $1.6 million in rental assistance in the last 15 months just to help people. We help with deposits. We help get your car fixed if you need to go to a job. Just the list of things we don't help with is actually smaller. So if you're ever stuck and you don't know how to help somebody, have them call us or come visit us at the resource center. That is the best way. I have staff there that will help them navigate, whether it's housing, whether it's how to get their birth certificate, helping get their Oregon ID so they can get a job. We have a bunch of funding sources at the resource center, and I've got great staff who are bilingual, bicultural, who can just help. I'm going to take a drink of water. There's more information on suicide prevention. I'm going to skip through that part. If you have not heard of Polk County's service integration model, we're in our 27th year of having a team of social service people that meet in every community in Polk County, including Monmouth Independence. They have a pot of flexible funds that team gets to decide how to spend every single month. The team leverages over $300,000 a year in goods and services. All of the information about service integration and how and where we meet. We actually, when we meet in person, we meet at Monmouth Christian Center. There's usually at the central team, which is Monmouth and Independence, there's over 50 people in attendance every month. But right now you can attend virtually. It's just a great way to connect and to get problems solved. And just about anybody involved in social service, the faith community, county government, law enforcement, private citizens, they're going to be at that meeting helping out families and just really making an impact. I'm talking about school-based mental health now. There's not very many counties in Oregon that have full-time staff in just about every school in the county providing resource connection and mental health services. Central School District is one of our top partners. We have 5, 6, 7 staff in Central School District, at least one full-time person in every building. There's information here about who they are and where they're located. And then on the back side is just a little bit about our program and what we provide. I could talk all night long about what we're seeing this school year with just the needs of kids coming back to school after so much social isolation. So our staff have been busier than ever. If you know families that have kids in schools that are struggling, just reach out to my staff, connect with them. They'll connect with those kiddos and help them find the resources and get the help that they need. How much time do I have, Marty?
Got plenty of time.
Good.
We're fine.
Okay, we're doing good. I want to leave time for questions.
You're talking about important things, so I don't want you to feel a time crunch. We've got to,
Go over, you go over.
You say that now, and then in 30 minutes, you're going to say, Brent, that's enough.
and exactly right.
Okay. I want you guys to know for the second year in a row, our department is going to do a holiday assistance, a program for the entire county. No kids or families will be left without presents or food for Christmas time. We started this last year because we saw a decline in the amount of other social service agencies that were stepping up to help. So we talked with the Board of Commissioners and they're supporting us doing the entire county. 2 things I want you to know. Number 1, we always look for people to adopt families. So if you're interested in adopting a family, you basically click on the links on this flyer here. You can let us know if you want to adopt a small family, a medium family, a large family, or if you just want to donate money. Then we'll pair you with that family. We don't share names. We don't share your names. We don't share their names. But we then give you information to say, hey, this is what this family needs. They have 3 kids. This is their top wishes. And y'all go out and take care of that. We do everything at the fairgrounds, and then families come and pick stuff up. Some of it's wrapped, some of it's not wrapped, depending on their preference. But we did over 1,200 kids last year, and we're expecting that to double this year. The other side of that is if you know families that need a little bit of help at Christmas time with food and with presents, just have them go to the same website and fill out that application, and we'll get them taken care of. There's a large PDF. We put together an annual report every year. That's for you data people in the room that really want to dive into what exactly does Brent do and where's our money going. Most of the money we raise ourselves. It's not necessarily county general fund. That's the smallest funding stream that we have. We do a lot of grant writing, and we have a lot of contracts with state and other entities. But this will tell you a little bit about what we did last year. And the last handout I'm going to talk about, and then really open it up to any questions people have, is Marty did ask me specifically to talk a little bit about our warming center project, which I'm really proud to say is spearheaded by Pastor Matt Smucker right next door at Praise Assembly. The warming center project started about 4 years ago. And one of the unique things about what we do is we rotate that project in between different communities, and it's hosted by different churches in 2-week segments. This helps ease that burden so no one church has to take on the warming center responsibilities for the entire cold season. It also helps us, how do I say this so the lawyer doesn't say anything? It helps us not have to follow all of the rules. If we were in one place for more than 90 days, we would have to follow a lot of rules. But if we move around a lot, we're completely within our rights to not have to follow all those rules, like churches getting completely sprinklered, having sprinkler systems and a bunch of other things. So like I said, it's our 4th year doing this. We receive $50,000 a year. We probably have maybe 9 or 10 churches in rotation that take turns. And oftentimes we're able to open up in 2 or 3 communities at once if the weather is really bad. We have volunteer drivers who pick people up and take them to warming centers and then take them back to wherever they need to go the next day. It's been a great program. It's had very few glitches in 4 years, and it's a great way to help people stay warm. We also don't open up just when it's freezing cold. We've actually been open the last 3 weekends because it's been kind of rainy. And as long as we have the funding to do that, we'll open up every single time that the weather's bad. That was a whirlwind of some of the things our department does at Polk County. I'm going to take a breath and see if any of y'all on the screen or anybody in the room has a specific question or a resource that they're looking for.
Okay, thank you. Counselors, any questions for Brent once he gets his water down? Yes, with Counselor Belts, it appears.
This is more of a comment. Brent, I work very closely with Amber and Ruby. Ruby takes care of the Yamhill County Service Integration teams. Amber takes care of the Polk County ones. They're both amazing, hardworking people. And I go to between 14 and 18 service integration team meetings a month. And it is amazing the work that these service agencies are doing. I go for my day job for Chariots because oftentimes transportation is a huge issue. And I don't know if you're going to mention it or not, Brent, but there is that the resource fair that's coming up that some of the counselors may be interested in knowing more about. If you can give them some information about that, because that is, I got to present at one, but there's so much information there in a real short time. So that might be helpful for some of the other counselors. And thank you for what you do, Mr. DeMo. Appreciate it.
Wow, that was nice. Thank you. And I'll pass the kudos on to staff too, because that's where it belongs. What the counselor was mentioning is on Thursday, October 18th, and this is something I can also get to Marty to send to you guys. A lot of people don't know about what social services are available throughout the county, not just what my department provides, but what everybody provides. So at least 2 times a year, we hold a day-long training that the best way I can describe it is it's speed dating for social service. We have panels of every type of help that's available, from housing to medical to mental health to law enforcement to transportation. And each of those people get about 5 minutes to describe what they do, and then we yank them off the stage and we go to the next person. We create a big packet with all of the information. Anybody can sign up to attend, especially since it's virtual, and you can choose sort of the buckets of social service topics that you're interested in and just attend that panel virtually. You can ask questions or you can just watch. We also record these and make them later. And basically, if there's any new staff, new volunteers, new anybody to the community that just wants to know how to connect, you can get it all done in one day with this particular training. So we will send that out, and registration will be closing in about a week or so, but it's a great way to really just know every resource. And again, not just what we do at Polk County, but all of the resources.
I think one of the things that we're all sensitive to is the need to integrate our services and not recreate the wheel in every different jurisdiction. So that would be good, and we look forward to that information. Any other comments? Yes, Councilor Oliveras.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Brent, for bringing this information, and I appreciate all the bicultural and bilingual staff that you are providing and the material that is so important. I just wanted to ask about the mental health counselors and especially those at the schools, if you know if they are bilingual.
That's a great question. So let me start by describing a couple different things in the county. So all counties have a department that's usually called like behavioral health or health services. And those are folks that primarily serve people who have the Oregon Health Plan. I wanted to make the distinction with you guys. That's my sister department. The department that I run, we serve everybody regardless of insurance. We don't even bill. There's nobody that we turn away. You don't need insurance. There's no criteria. We help anybody who needs help. And then we make referrals for people who have insurance to different places if they need more intensive care. And that's where our sister department does a great job. Now, to answer your question, finding bilingual, bicultural staff with master's degrees who want to come work for the county and be placed at a school is a challenge. However, we have bilingual and bicultural staff. So specifically at Central School District, we recently hired Isabel. She's bilingual, bicultural. She even has kids in the district. She worked for Lynn County Behavioral Health for a long time. She just started 3 weeks ago, and she gets to float between all 5 school buildings. She's not assigned to any one building. She goes where the need is. Now, obviously, she's bilingual, so she is going to work a lot with our Latinx population, but she's not restricted to that, but that's really where she shines. We also have a full-time bilingual, bicultural school-based mental health associate at the bachelor's level. Right now, she is at MES, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but she's at one of the elementary schools, either MES or IES. She's filling in for somebody who's on maternity break, and then she'll actually be returning to Dallas School District, and that's where she is assigned. We always prefer to hire bilingual, bicultural, but anybody who's trying to hire, you know what that job market's like right now. It's hard to find anybody, but that is always our preference.
Great. No, thank you very much for that. I'm just thinking of, you were saying you write a lot of grants, and I'm thinking, well, grant opportunities for partnerships. I know Chemeketa and Western have an agreement for bilingual teachers program, and to come in, and they start Chemeketa and they go to Western. It'd be awesome if the county could do something, either with Western or a community college that's focusing on that bilingual, bicultural piece for mental health. Just trying to think of those gaps. It's something that we're thinking about at the college level, is how do we fill those gaps? How do we fill that need of qualified individuals to serve our communities? So, but I really thank you for keeping that in the forefront and keeping that in mind so that you do reach everyone in our community. So I appreciate your work on that. Thank you, Brent.
You bet. It sounds like I might be reaching out to you about some of those ideas in the future. Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Councilor Lopez.
Thank you very much, Councilor Carey, and thank you very much, Brent, for making the wonderful presentation to us. know a lot about what you do, and yet I'm still absolutely wowed and amazed every single time that it's all laid out for me the way it is tonight. So really an incredible asset your team is, and you yourself. I was listening to something actually just this morning on NPR about rising rates of evictions across the country with subsidies starting to run out, and have been putting a little bit of thought about that, and was wondering what you're seeing in our county, and what we have going on to try to answer that.
It's a good question. I agree with everything that you said that you heard on NPR. There's obviously an increase with moratoriums and things going away. A couple of things that I can tell you: the state portal for rental assistance is still open. There are still hundreds of millions of dollars available for rental assistance. Before June 30th, you used to be able to come to somebody like me. We would take care of all of that for you because the funding was local. Now it's all on a state website, supposedly for consolidation, and I'll reserve my remarks of what I think about that for another time. But you still can get that kind of help and get that application done. In fact, our office will help you get the application done. It's not easy to do. You have to upload documents. You have to scan rental agreements and pay stubs and all of that kind of stuff, but we will help. I think to further answer your question, Counselor, I have an agreement with the Circuit Court in Polk County. Every time there's an eviction that goes to court, they call it FEDs. Every single one of those comes to me personally. And then I distribute those to my staff to reach out to landlords and to tenants to see if something can be done before that eviction has to go through its total process. So we do that. Those come to me weekly, and we either connect people to that portal to get rental assistance and to get that back rent and future rent paid, or we try to work with landlords. We do the best we can on that part. You guys know the housing. For me, housing and childcare are the two biggest issues that we face in Polk County, and maybe not even number one and number two. I could do childcare first, given everything that's happened. If you haven't heard, we've lost actually 6 childcare facilities in the last 2 weeks in the greater Polk County area. That equates to over 60 slots that were lost, and we've already been a childcare desert, even pre-COVID. But housing is tough. There's not a lot of rentals. If y'all went out to try to rent something, it would be tough to find somewhere. It's just the availability is not there. So we're looking at those things, Chris, and there's not a silver bullet until there's just a lot more affordable housing built, more apartments, more duplexes, that kind of thing.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much for that really candid answer there. Follow-up question on a slightly different note. You mentioned that over 55% of the individuals you currently serve are in Monmouth or Independence. I find that I find that number surprising. I think we like to think of Monmouth as this quaint little town that doesn't have issues that the larger cities of Dallas and Salem have. Could you elaborate a little bit more about what that 55% that you serve from our community here looks like?
I've made the mistake of remembering that I'm at the Monmouth City Council, and a lot of times we yoke everything by school district. All of our data is done by school district, and so Monmouth and Independence do get put together quite a bit. Chris, I'm going to get back to you on dividing that 55 into Monmouth and Independence and the type of services, because I won't be able to just spit right now what percent is Monmouth, what percent is Independence, and that would also vary depending on which particular resource we're talking about. So I'll make a commitment to get back to y'all via email with a little bit more of a breakdown. I know that some of y'all who've met me recently, I don't have a handout on this because we're working on it right now, but I'm kind of also the county's lead person on dealing with everything related to homelessness right now. So at least I did bring specific data just for Monmouth of what we track right now. A total of 55 homeless individuals in Monmouth who have a Monmouth, they call Monmouth home. Over half of those are children from Monmouth. Homeless by these definitions are literal homeless, people who are either on the street, in a tent, in a camper, in a trailer, something that is not a suitable living arrangement. And then some of these folks are also couch surfing or doubling up with other folks. But one of the things my department is trying hard to do is reduce duplication by creating a master list of every single houseless or homeless individual that we know, what services they're connect to, and try to do everything that we can for those individuals. Most of the time, agencies do that very separately in their own buckets, and we're trying to break down those barriers and have just one list where everybody is working together. So that kind of strayed a little bit from what you were saying, but I will follow up with more information about what we're serving for Monmouth as a city. And then if you're interested in Independence, I'll give that to you, but I'll definitely give you Monmouth.
Yeah, I really actually appreciate that you're lumping in Monmouth and Independence together. We share so many services. Fire district, school district, police support each other regularly. We have crossovers in terms of like you mentioned, daycares, food, etc. And so I guess I'm just looking for, you don't have to disaggregate that information. I guess I'm just looking for, we say 2 cities, 1 community, looking for what are communities dealing with those issues. I was still absolutely surprised to hear that over 55% comes from right here.
And part of that, if I may just address that quickly, we're talking about data from the last 12 months also. So the majority of folks that we help with rental assistance were from the Monmouth Independence area, without a doubt. So like I said, you can do a lot with numbers. We can look at historical pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, and we can look at it by resource. So when we talk about what the Resource Center has done in everything that the Resource Center does, 55% of the folks that we served were from either from Monmouth or Independence.
Additional questions? Councilor McHale.
Thanks. Sorry for the delay with my microphone. Thank you, Mr. DeMoe, for coming. We really appreciate. I just want to continue to state what everybody else has, that we really appreciate what you're doing and what your office is doing. I just have, if you wouldn't mind, please, repeating the number of houseless, homeless kids in Monmouth Independence area, because I think that went pretty quickly. And that's, it's in a small town. It was a really high number, I thought. It's a high number in a big town, but.
Yes, Counselor, absolutely. So we, on our spreadsheet I'm looking at right here, there are 55 homeless individuals in Monmouth. Half of
those are kids or
half
adults?
of that 55 are children.
As I went to
a count of 27 right here on this spreadsheet, 27 individual kids who they could be from the same family. There might be 3 kids in a family, but I've got 27 kids right here.
Yeah, I went to a government, and maybe I'm crossing data, I don't know. I was at a government meeting on homelessness, I guess about a month ago, and it said Central School District had 53 homeless or houseless kids. So maybe we're more expansive in that definition and what they were presenting.
It could be, and it could be where they got their data from, and was it this school year? The list that I have is live as of today of families that we're working with right now.
Okay.
So it depends on where they got that data. There is a homeless liaison at Central School District who would provide that data, and if she segregated that information from Monmouth away from Independence, did you say that was Central School District data or just for Monmouth?
It was Central School District data. 2020 was the current data that they were presenting at that meeting. So it looks like it's hard to imagine it's gotten a little better with all the difficulties. So I'm not sure where this number came from, but not to argue data points with you.
If I included Independence, it would be a lot bigger, and I have Independence's number here too. It would just take me a minute to count it up.
Yeah.
The number I gave you was for Monmouth only, not Central School District, Monmouth. So 27
Okay, all right.
Monmouth.
27 Monmouth kids.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And there's a little fact that I just want to pass this on. I know it's a little, I was shocked by this. 70% of homeless adults experienced homelessness as a school kid. So those numbers, that 27 kids that are having trouble with they're homeless now, those are real numbers for what we will have to continue to work with as we try to make sure that they have what they need to exist and survive. So I really appreciate that you're bringing those numbers in with at least the Monmouth kids. And I from the number I have here, it's like it'd be double if we
Correct, yeah.
include independents. So I have one other question for you. You mentioned that 55% of 55% of your clients in your resource center are from Monmouth independents, and that 95% of the work that you can do with them can be done over the phone. But I've heard about we wouldn't need for us to have a resource center here to make it easier for people who need to be connected with resources.
Always open to invest in both of those things at some level.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Brent. It was a long and productive session, I believe, and thank you for being on task with all that you provided for us there. So
You guys can
thank
have
you.
me back anytime.
You bet, and we probably will. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to meet with our historic commission. So I would invite apparently Suzanne. And I see we have two members here as well. And so we're anxious to hear what you have going on.
Thank you, Councilor Carey. Good evening. My name is Suzanne Duffner. Can you hear me okay? Pull that a little bit closer. I am the city's Community and Economic Development Director. And I am so excited tonight to introduce the Historic Commission to you. It's one of the city's boards and commissions that has been very active over the last year, despite the continuing challenges of the pandemic. And so I just wanted to, before I turn the time over to the chair, I wanted to introduce everybody that's on the Historic Commission. So I am the staff liaison. We have our chair, Nita Wilson, who is joining us virtually. Our vice chair is James Mannion, who is also joining us virtually. And then here in the room tonight, we have Commissioners Bob Edgar to my left and Commissioners George Jeffrey that is also in the room. So the folks that I don't see on, I might have missed them, but Albert is a historic commissioner, and Beth Dykstra is also a historic commissioner. And then our fearless city council liaison, who does an amazing job, as well as Councilor Rebecca Salinas Oliveros. So thanks, everybody. And I do need to have a couple slides that was included in your packet that goes into more detail about all the fun activities. But I think Nita was going to share a few highlights. I'll turn the time over to her.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne, and evening. And hopefully, I was wondering if you were going to keep me straight. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Not anyone hear me? Our accomplishments are really exciting. Anyway, I am excited about it, what we've done and what we're planning on. I hope everyone has seen the interpretive displays that are hanging inside the windows of the Oddfellows Lodge building. The early pioneer wagon trains and the Calapooya Indian tribe. We also have created and I'm not sure that it's still going on or not, but we created a historic scavenger hunt highlighting photos of historic buildings downtown. And I know it was popular during the summer because I had several people comment about that. Our National Register, we're going to have another home, we hope, that will be on the National Register. That's the Buford Stanley House on the south end of Monmouth Avenue. We hired a historian to prepare a National Register application for the Buford Stanley home located, like I say, on Monmouth Avenue. Applications are currently under review with State Historic Preservation Organization, and we're really excited about. Hopefully, we can get something accomplished because that would give us one more historic site. And we met with the Independence Heritage Museum director and discussed resources available through the Independence Heritage Museum and opportunities for partnership. Happy birthday. Oh, that's the mayor's, okay. I haven't gotten that far yet. We worked with an intern to identify and catalog historic photographs that we and Western have. There's a local history graduate that's working on this cataloging. And Jim and I think George, didn't you attend the 130th birthday celebration of the Howell House? It from what I hear, that was very interesting and informative. And we're also been working on and sharing historic information about Monmouth with the public. It doesn't seem like too many people are interested in history right now. We also completed a request for proposals for a historic mall, a mural, and we are really excited about doing something about that blank wall on Ross. Well, I don't know if it's going to be called Ross Market much longer, but anyway, that blank wall is such an invitation to do something with it. We're really excited about putting our history in living, more or less living color. We also sent out requests for proposals to local artists to install the historic mall, a mural. And how are we coming with that, Suzanne?
Yeah, so we're trying to secure the funding for the mural. So we've submitted a grant most recently, to the Oregon
Yeah,
Heritage.
we've always got to pay for something, don't we?
Yeah, those little details, but you're right. We do at least have the artwork and artists secured, and then there's also coordinating with the property owner and Ross as well on an easement. So it's coming right along.
It's to me, it's very exciting. And then for our future work, we are hoping to create an interpretive display celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Columbus Day storm, which really altered Western University a little bit. And we are, of course, trying to secure the funding for the historic mural. And then we haven't quite started yet, but we're going to be really getting into the May Historic Preservation Month activities. Excuse me. I get so excited. And then we're going to be updating our historic walking tour brochure. I actually think it's a work of art, but then it does have a little bit of touching up to be done. Jim, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you pretty much covered it very well. You did an outstanding job of exactly what we have done, and it was an accomplishment. And the future looks bright. We have a number of things in the docket that we want to look at and stuff. So this year, 22, should be even more. Thank you.
Let's see now. Can George and Bob hear me? Do they have anything to add?
The what?
Bob or Jim or George, do you have anything to add?
No, good job, Nita.
Okay. We forgot to say something about all the work that Beth has done. She's the one that created the signs that are in the Oddfellows windows. You're quite talented with that plastic. And let's see now. Is there anything else I need to say, Suzanne?
Nope, I think you did a fine job. Thank you very much, Nita. It's a great report.
Did I make the time limit?
Not quite, not quite. You did well. I would ask counselors, if you have any questions or comments for any of the members of the Historical Society and the good work they're doing.
I am looking forward to that mural. It's going to be fabulous.
Oh, good.
Great project.
Thank you.
$15,000.
Yeah, only we had a printing press.
Too many ifs in this world.
That's it.
Well, that's for future.
Any other questions that we might have? Well, we certainly appreciate the work you're doing. We feel like we've got a rich history here in Monmouth, and it's because of people like you and your committee that are bringing that to life. And we certainly appreciate the hard work that you're doing and the how it's going to enhance our community from now into the future. So thank you very much.
We like to be appreciated.
Great, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, folks. Let's move on now to the next agenda item. Janet, if you're available to talk about the first quarter financial report that we were all happy to look at and appreciated all that green segments that we had there.
Yes, thank you, Pro Tem Mayor Carey and councilors. Yes, it is good news for the first quarter of fiscal 22. We have a lot of green, as you pointed out, Councilor Carey, Mayor Carey. And I will say that in particular, I want to highlight a few items in case you didn't have a chance to read that our property tax revenues are going to come in ahead of the 3% that we had projected as sort of the cap that is theoretically allowed, but with development and growth, we've managed to achieve a little higher than 3%. So as long as we can collect it, we're in good shape there. And even more exciting is the growth in the urban renewal district, which is actually in the range of 47% growth over the prior year increment in value. So that's exceeding what Tiberius was projecting when they did our urban renewal forecast. And so hopefully that will continue and we will have sufficient tax increment financing to fund and repay our maximum indebtedness that we've incurred so far and that we plan to continue incurring through the expiry date of our urban renewal district or perhaps further into the future. And then the other items that I wanted to highlight were that MyNet turned over nearly 50% more for its October-December debt service payments than last year. And they are projecting that they will pay the full amount for the final April and June payments. So again, we won't be tapping into Monmouth Power and Light for as much as we had even budgeted, let alone what we've done in prior years. So that's excellent news. As far as highlighting one thing that I am watching beyond, obviously our court fines and forfeitures remain lower than they have been in years past, but they are, sort of keeping pace at least with last year. And given that the police department is having some staffing challenges and a lot of stuff happening that is unrelated to traffic tickets, I think that, this is not unexpected. But the gas fund is the other one that I want to highlight. You've probably noticed at the pumps at the gas fund that the gas prices are a little higher than they have been through COVID. And so now the projections and forecasts that we did were a little lower than I think we're going to see for the full year. So I may be back later in fiscal 22 to do a supplemental budget asking for more appropriations. The good news is that the revenues that we incur, because it's an internal service fund, as well as we make sales to MyNet and the fire district for fuel purchases with a small margin on it, we will have sufficient revenues to cover those extra appropriations that we may need. So not really, it's certainly not a red, more of a yellow, just to watch and make sure that we don't bust appropriations, as state law would not be very forgiving of us if we do that. And so other than that, there isn't a lot to draw your attention to. Hopefully you had a chance to look at our progress on our capital improvement plans. And in particular, there's a graph on page 26 that you may find interesting. And then the only other thing I wanted to highlight was that once again, the local government investment pool rate had dropped as of October. So it is trending down with the interest rates that they have access to. However, it is still a very good investment for the vehicles, for a short-term vehicle, much better than any other short-term vehicle that we can invest currently with our investment procedure such as it is. At some juncture, again, we may look at going out longer term, but right now with the shape of the yield curve, I'm not that inclined to do so. And so I think with that, I will open up for questions, if any.
Thank you. Councilor Oberst.
Janet, you said that Minnet paid 50% more than last year, October, December payments. What percentage of the total payment did they make?
I believe that's a great question. I believe it, let me just take a quick look here. I believe it was in the 80% range.
That's what I thought I saw, but I wanted to hear it from the financial director's mouth because you can read this stuff so much better than I can.
Right. I think it was actually around 87%. It was a very substantial amount.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions on this topic for Janet? I have one, and it's part question, part discussion that we don't need to get into now, but I want to remind, especially the newer counselors, that as Minnet and we've had nothing but good news from them for the last 2 years or 3 years, and I attribute it almost directly to Councilor Lopez's work with that organization. He's got that shaped up after years of mismanagement on my part. But we are getting to the point where, and I think the day is approaching soon, where they'll be not only able to cover their own operating expenses, but also the debt service as well, and they'll begin to develop a surplus. And at some point, we need to begin to have some discussions about how they will begin and when they'll begin to repay some of the loans that they've taken, and get some of that back to Power and Light. We're not there yet, but I just think on the horizon we need to have that in our minds, that will be forthcoming at some juncture. So I guess I'll just leave it as a comment at this point. And I see Councilor Lopez making notes on that. So we'll get good news at some point in the future. Any other questions? Hopefully no more snide comments.
Follow up my question if
Yeah,
anybody else has anything. Anybody else first?
looks like we're good. Councilor Oberst with your follow-up.
And I'll ask both Chris and Janet, is there any concern with the television service at Minnet going away at the end of the month with the resulting revenue drop, although their expenses should go down to be paying all that out to the provider anymore? So is there a concern around that loss of video service, or how did the two of you feel about that? And Janet, particularly you, since we're talking about financial report.
Well, I would just offer up that they've just published their financial statements for last fiscal year, which I reviewed very thoroughly. And to me, it appears that, they are ready, they're poised to absorb that loss, and that it will not have a major impact on their revenue stream at all. They seem to be really working on the Willamette Valley Fiber end of things to try and enhance their revenues. And the only other thing I would offer up to Councilor Carey's comments is that the first loan payment back to MPL, actually as scheduled, is due within the next year and a half. So John Cooper and I have spoken, and they are aware, and I'm sure it's come up at the board meetings, that they do need to start talking to us about what that will look like, whether they will be making payments on that particular promissory note, or whether they want to approach us to negotiate some kind of consolidation of their debts. So Councillor Lopez is closer to the board discussions of that, so I'll defer to him, but that's what I know.
Yeah, thank you, Janet, and thank you very much for the great questions about MyNet. I know that in these fiscal discussions, when we're looking at our quarterly numbers, MyNet's finances always get a lot of scrutiny, and I think that's for good reason, right? As Councillor Carey, Mayor Pro Tem Carey, my apologies, Councillor Carey just rolls off the tongue. I'm so used to it, but I'll break that for the next little bit. Pointed out, MyNet has not always had the most sterling financial record within our community. However, in recent history, we MyNet has been doing, I hate to say it out loud because I don't want to jinx things, but doing exceptionally well. I do have the debt service forecast in front of me, Janet, to answer one of Mayor Pro Tem's Carey's questions, and I don't have it as a percentage on this forecast, but the forecasted first payment for fiscal year 21-22, MyNet's total was 614,000 out of 818,000. So a little bit lower than the percentage that was stated, but higher than has ever been paid in this first payment forecast in the past. So making huge waves for perspective. Last year, in the payment first half of the year, MyNet paid 461,000. So taking huge chunks out of that, and as Ms. Chenard said, MyNet is scheduled to make the full amount of the second payment at the end of the fiscal year. I'll remind you all that the second payment is about $150,000 bigger than the first. So taking the bigger chunks out of bigger payments, which, ideally they'd take it all, but we're getting there, and we're getting there very quickly. To answer your question, Councillor Oberst, about the phasing out of Easy Video, this was a question that Councillor Carey, then Councillor Carey, now Mayor Pro Tem Carey, had at our last meeting. I did do some digging and took some notes, and I'll just deliver that information now instead of later in my report. But that it was a concern, right? Unfortunately, the reality of losing this service is that it was something that Easy Video was going away, and they still are going away. And there's not really a turnkey put in place alternative for it. As far as our concerns go, I have early data on that we really haven't lost many. So there have been a number of individuals that have already converted over just to straight data. Fiscally, it's not a concern. Where the fiscal concern is when we lose those customers completely. Easy Video was always something that MyNet offered, and cable before that was something that MyNet offered as a service to the community, to be that triple play provider. The reality now is that most people don't engage in cable the way that they used to, and whether it's that they're only engaging partially or that they're starting to move away. And the companies are moving away from that, as we've seen with Easy Video. If Easy Video was still around, we'd still offer it. So the answer really is that, is it a concern? Yes. Has it panned out to be anything concerning from a fiscal level? No, and we don't anticipate it having a huge fiscal impact because it was never a real revenue driver to begin with. And we've not seen those that have just discontinued that easy video service thus far. Since we've announced this, we've not seen them generally leaving for data. They've kept the data because that's a good product, and it's something that really there's no comparison to locally.
Nobody can match MyNet's internet service, that's for sure.
All right, are there any other questions to Janet specific to the first quarter financial report? All right, good. We'll move on then and stay with you, Janet, for the discussion regarding public hearing regarding the GO bond transfer.
So I'd like to, before we open the public hearing, just give a little bit of background on the public hearing, which is to say that I have noticed on the website and in the Polk Itemizer, because of the 2 weeks notice that I needed to provide for a supplemental hearing through the Polk Itemizer, I provided for that public hearing to occur. It turns out that we don't actually legally need a public hearing for the changes that I'm asking for in the supplemental budget. However, I didn't cancel the public hearing per se because I'd still like to have that level of transparency with this budget action because it is unusual. And there are going to be some other items that come out of this particular action that are related to the budget law that it surrounds it. So that's a little bit complicated, but essentially, you'll recall last year we had to do a loan, an interfund loan from the general fund to the general obligation bond fund in order to ensure that we did not have a negative fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. And that was because we under levied our taxes. And through a series of calculations that I have done over the last several years that didn't allow us to collect as much as we needed to. And so we ended up with a shortfall of around $4,000. And so now we want to repay that back because, again, state budget law requires that when you borrow for this purpose, for an operating purpose, that you repay within a year. And so we didn't know this at the time when we adopted the budget at the beginning of June because we did the interfund loan as a mid-June resolution. And so now what I'm hoping to do through this public hearing is seek comment on from the public the idea of basically taking $4,000 from the fund balance that we expect to accumulate through our collection process and repay it to the general fund, which therefore the taxes are kept where they should be to pay for the services that they should be paying for. And the voter approved taxes are kept to pay for that debt. And so that is the background. And this action here seeks to, again, to appropriate as a debt service item, as opposed to a interfund transfer item, which is the way it would have been done in the past, but which I now understand from Department of Revenue, it should be treated as debt service. So hopefully that's not unduly complicated, but with that, I would welcome you opening a public hearing for public comment, Pro Tem Mayor Carey, and then any questions from council after the public hearing would be welcome.
I don't have a script to open that hearing.
You can just open it and ask if there's any public testimony.
All right, then
Go ahead and I'll ask.
okay,
you to-
then I'd like to open the hearing that we have scheduled and was noticed on the resolution authorizing a supplemental budget to appropriate debt service requirements to repay a 2021 interfund loan of the general obligation bond debt service fund. And we just had an explanation on that. It's a more of a bookkeeping item than anything else. So I would entertain any comments from the public. We have one in the room and we have perhaps on streaming. I'm not sure. Pardon?
Ask if Phyllis has anybody.
Phyllis, is there anyone that has had any communication with you?
No, there has not been anyone.
Okay. While we're waiting for that, Counselor
Oh,
Oberst.
you can go ahead and close the hearing and then get into deliberation
All
with
right.
the council. Yeah.
Then I'll go ahead and close that hearing at this point, and thank you for the comments from the public. And now discussion, Counselor Oberst.
Janet, layman's terms, you under-taxed slightly. We borrowed $10,000 from ourselves to make sure that the bond service fund had enough to pay its debt. It did. You had to borrow, only use about 4,000 of the 10 that we approved. Now you have adjusted how much you're asking people to pay. You're going to have more than enough, so you're paying us back. We're paying us back. Is that sort of the short version?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that's what I got. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, good. Any other questions regarding this? Yes, Counselor McKeel.
I don't have a question. It looks pretty straightforward. I was just going to offer the motion.
And I would welcome that.
So excuse me while I turn a little bit to read it. I move to approve resolution number 1934, authorizing a fiscal year 21-22 supplemental budget to appropriate debt service requirements to repay and fiscal year 2021 interfund loan to the GO Bond Debt Service Fund.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Counselor McKeel and second by Counselor Salinas Oliveros. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, is this a roll call or is this a,
Let's be a roll call. Yep.
we'll need a roll call. Phyllis, please.
Counselor McKeel,
Yes.
Counselor Oberst,
yes.
Counselor Salinas Oliveros,
Aye.
Counselor Lopez,
Aye.
Counselor Belts.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on then. Consideration of the first reading of an ordinance adopting comp plan amendment that we've talked about and we've had considerable discussion on. So we'll go to Suzanne Duffner for that.
Yes, great. I will just have a brief little staff present. We have already had a public hearing with the city council at your last meeting on October 19th. This is to conduct first reading of ordinance 1402 to adopt a comprehensive plan, map amendment, and zone change. The request was made by Randy Myers of Brownstone Land, Inc. And that was to change the comprehensive plan map from public to low density residential, again, with that concurrent zone change from public service to low density residential for approximately 8.6 acre property located north of the 800 block of Craven Street North, just north of General Woods and east of Highway 99. When the council closed the public hearing on it, it was approved. The ordinance is required to enact it or make it official. So you now have the ordinance attached to your staff memo, and it includes an exhibit with a legal description of the property and also a map showing the area of the proposed change. So happy to answer any questions you might have about it.
Nothing has changed since we had the
No, still the
extensive
same.
discussion previously.
Right, still the same area, still the same land use designations planned for low density residential.
Okay. It is a first reading. We can certainly have some discussion on that, I believe, but no action will be taken. Is that the assumption, or will we?
So.
Yeah.
Just, do they need to
You're
read it by
nodding that no
title?
action will be taken?
Do they need to read it by
You can read it by
title?
title, yeah.
Okay.
And do I have it?
It's the ordinance. So
Oh, there we go. All right, yeah, I've got it up here.
take a deep breath.
It's a long title.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong direction.
Might be faster just to read the ordinance.
I know I should have done. Yeah. I'm going in the wrong direction.
That's nothing new.
All right. So this is an ordinance amending the Monmouth Comprehensive Plan map designation for a certain parcel of real property located north of the 800 block of Craven Street North, east of Pacific Highway 99, being an 8.6 acre portion of assessor map number 8419, tax lot 1206, from the public to low density residential, and amending the Monmouth zoning map designation for said parcel from public service to low density residential. Okay, with that, we've accomplished our first reading.
Yep.
And there'll be an order,
Second reading next meeting, yeah.
Yeah, second reading, I think on the 15th, I think I saw it was going to be, or whatever it is.
16th, I believe.
Whatever the
is
next one comes.
Yeah,
third
16th.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, 16. Okay, very good. That piece is done. With that, and getting closer to being on time, City Hall update.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Good evening. I'm Marty Wine, City Manager. I have given you a couple of updates about our City Hall project, and I thought it would be a good idea just to check in and let you know what's happening with the plan project. You have a report in your packet that has a couple of elements that I just want to let you know about. And my purpose for the report is also to make sure if there's anybody watching in the community and they're curious about what's happening with the City Hall project, that we're getting regular information out there for the community. So we just wanted to give you a briefing tonight about where we are. We have a project that is substantially in design. We've been working with our architects. You all know FFA Architecture well. They've been with us for several years now. And with the City Hall project is at 80% design, and we'll be completing the construction documents here in mid-November. And those are the documents that will be going out to bid and asking a general contractor to provide qualifications first, and then a proposal to construct our new City Hall building, which is very exciting. And as you know, the building involves the demolition of our current City Hall and replacement of Volunteer Hall. So there will be some parts of that project that include demolition of the buildings, and then using that design and the bid that we get from our general contractor, constructing a new 15,000 square foot City Hall that includes the functions that are working there today, plus a new council and court chambers facility. So just this week, at the end of this week, we're planning to release the request for qualifications step. And that will lead us into being able to construct the building. My hope is that we'll be able to start early in the new year with demolition and construction, and to have our general contractor aboard sometime in early January or end of 2021. At that point, we'll have a better schedule, a better understanding of how demolition and construction will proceed in terms of a schedule. My other reason for bringing you a report tonight is that at the 60% design phase, FFA Architecture and a cost estimator brought in the latest cost estimate that we have for the facility. And that's also attached to your packet. And what you'll see in the 60% construction drawings, construction documents, summary, when you add together the estimated direct construction costs of the building, which are about $8 million, and then some of the soft costs that we expect to experience, we're still hovering around the $9 million amount that we promised to the community, and that we plan and hope to bring in the building in once it's all constructed. One of the things a decision that I recently made that contributed to a cost increase would be a change in some of the energy sources for the building. We have a requirement under state law to meet the green energy technology requirements the state Department of Energy has. And so we made a choice to add solar panels, to add solar photovoltaic panels to the building. So we're going to be doing that. And by doing so, we'll meet the state requirements to have some green energy technology incorporated into the building. anyway, I think the upshot of the cost estimate and bringing you the information that I did about the cost estimate is I want to make sure that you're seeing that we're doing what we can to manage costs within what we committed for our reserves and what voters have approved for us. And I would take questions at any point if you have them, but there are just two other points that I wanted you to know about related to the project. And one is that we are working hard in the current building. The 13 staff who work in City Hall today have been furiously cleaning, packing, purging, planning to move, and we're going to be leaving City Hall, planning to move out of City Hall on November 29th. And we'll begin to be in our transition spaces at the end of the month. And that's very exciting, although it's kicking up a lot of dust, and we're wanting to make sure our customers know where to find us when the new month comes along. And then finally, what we're thinking about doing, I'm working with the mayor to put together a panel of community members who can help advise us and keep pace with what's happening with the project so that they also know what's happening. And at the moment, I think we're calling them Key Communicators Group, but we're getting a group of invitees together to ask them to come along with us on this project so that we have a better way to make sure the community knows what we're planning and what's going to be happening with the project. And that'll be much more visible once we start demolition and construction. But we have some communication to do since the voters approved the bond measure in May. So with that, I just wanted to make sure that you knew what some of our key milestones are coming up and offer to answer any questions or curiosities you might have about where we are with the project.
Thank you for that. Questions, councilors, comments for City Manager Wine. Councilor McKeel.
Sorry, too many systems to click to turn the microphone on. So since we're looking pretty closely at demolishing the building, is there a plan to like open the building up to Habitat for Humanity or something to take out the functional? I mean, there's a lot of dysfunction in the current City Hall, but there's doors and things that people might be able to use.
The answer to that is yes. It's not a fully fledged plan yet, but our city recorder has worked a little bit with some companies that might want to come and salvage some of the things like doors that either might be useful or people might want to save. Organizations like Habitat for Humanity and Restore are absolutely on our list of folks who we can, if there are things that we can donate or give to where they can be reused, we want to do that. We're also talking about having I'll call it a community garage sale and give folks an opportunity to walk through the building. And if there are things that we're not going to use anymore it's not the right word to call it salvage, but to resell or to offer what we've got to the community if they would like to come and, look at our desks. It's not all in very good condition, but you never know, someone might want it. So short answer is yes. The longer answer is we're putting a plan together. And the building will be, vacant for a month or two before anything happens with demolition.
Well, I'm willing to come in with my tool belt and help remove doors if that helps getting them to Habitat for Humanity.
I will take you up on that. Yes, you're
always looking for an excuse to use my tool belt.
I'd like to bring my sledgehammer.
We might have a sledgehammer, a ceremony also. So if you have demolition ideas for ways for community to also be part of taking down the building, I would like to solicit those ideas from you too.
I would like to see Mayor Kuntz on a bulldozer.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that I did think, and that's one of the notes that I had on it is how we might, capitalize on that as a public promotional event. I'm not sure there's a solid brick in the building, but if there was, sometimes you can give bricks to former mayors and former city managers and that sort of a thing and all that. So it could be kind of a fun deal. Other questions from councilors? Councilor Belts.
Well, I just see an opportunity to have former mayors and former councilors come in and maybe, for $5 each, they get to swing the sledgehammer. I would pay $5 to just swing it a couple times to knock out a couple pieces of the building. That'd be fun.
Yep.
I think I think we have solar panels to pay for. I think we need to up that a little bit beyond $5.
Turn it into a fundraising opportunity.
Thanks for these ideas, and I would welcome more.
Good
Other
idea, Councilor
comments?
Bells.
Other comments? I would say that, city manager and I had a brief conversation here this afternoon about this, but, I think the addition of the solar panels, the photovoltaic potential that we have there is a good one. I think we can utilize that to demonstrate how we are putting our values, our shared values into action. That's part of our sustainability piece. And I think that there's, that we can be a leader on that. This is one of the things that's an essential to what's going to be in the future for us. I think that, however, at the same time, I think, and I know that Chuck Thurman would be able to help with this, but figure out what our, what sort of the green premium is. How much we're going to pay for that and how long will it take to pay for sort of that. I think we've got some data there, and if Mary Coons was here, I would ask her, and I'm sure that she could come up with it at given the time. But what's the high school reaped from the array they have on their ceiling, on their roof? So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to make this a sort of a public demonstration of responsible behavior.
Yep.
And I think we ought to not let that opportunity pass. So I congratulate that for the idea, Marty. I think that's great. And unless there's anything else, we'll move on. But thank you. Very good. All right, well, that concludes our business agenda. We will now move to the mayor's report, and regardless of all of those titles that you're throwing around at me, I really have nothing in this regard except we have a couple of appointments to our
Highlight, it could be about sportsmanship, it could be about kindness, it could be about where to get resources to alleviate or to help with some of the really high levels of anxiety and stress that we're feeling nowadays. I just wanted to mention that those conversations are taking place, and I think we're hearing and seeing examples of it all around our community. So that's all I have for community or city manager report tonight.
Thank you very much. That's good. Well, we'll move now to council comments, and I would just say that and sort of announce it's been reported, but not real broadly. But Western Oregon University is hosting the West Regional Cross Country Championship on Saturday. We'll have teams from all around the West: California, Idaho, Montana, Alaska, Hawaii, at least. And we'll probably have 35 teams, I'm guessing, that will be here. And I think the women's race goes off at, I want to say it's 9 a.m. I looked, but I'd forgotten. And then the men's race goes at 11:15. So there'll be a lot of people in, thin clads, they used to call them, sort of light gear running around in hopefully nice weather. But they'll be running on the Ash Creek Preserve, which is on the west side of the western campus. So if you see people around looking with odd uniforms, welcome them to Monmouth. I'm sure they'd appreciate having that sort of a welcome. So that's it for me. Anyone else? Councilor Salinas Oliveros, please.
Yes, thank you. I just want to let everyone know today is officially Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. It is a very meaningful celebration in Latin America and in Mexico. And this is the time really to remember our loved ones that have passed and to do something special, whether it's light a candle, whether it's reading a story, sharing memories. And it reminds us that we really have not lost people in our life as long as we continue to remember them. So I encourage all of us to remember all of those that we have lost and remember the good memories and keep them alive. And lastly, I want to also remind you that November is Native American Alaskan Native Month. And I encourage all of us to reflect, to learn, maybe go and read the interpretive sign that's hung up there at the lodge there that if you haven't already, about Kalapuya Indians. Maybe it's reading articles. I know Sayla, the Statesman Journal, had articles about our Chemawa Indian School and the history of these boardings and learning about the different tribes that live in our area. So I just encourage us to continue to learn, to continue to be open, to appreciate each other, regardless of our differences.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments on the